All right, guys, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be in the Auburn Tiger War Eagle. We're talking about levels of delusion when you talk about sports. Now, I've said before that I thought Auburn, if they were to win out, would have an opportunity or should have an opportunity to make the college football playoff. That wasn't an act of delusion. Now, I'm not here to defend myself because that's not what it is, but I do want to help explain to the fan base what my thought processes are. Let's just say Auburn wins out and they play against Mercer, Texas A&M. Let's even go with what LSU has left over schedule-wise. They got Arkansas and Texas A&M, I think. So if they're a two-loss team already, they don't have an iceberg's chance in hell to make any noise based on who they have left. As a matter of fact, Alabama is the number 5 team in the country, and they're hoping like hell that Auburn can beat Georgia so that when they play Auburn, that's already an assumption. They're assuming off rip that they're going to beat Auburn, but they're saying, okay, if Auburn comes into this game as the number 5 team or number 6 team in the country, that'll help our resume. We already know we're not going to the SEC championship. So any little thing that can help us out would help us out. The only issue with all of that is the fact that I think LSU is pretty solid, at least up to the SEC championship game. I think they're in. Ohio State at number 2, they got some shakiness ahead. They got some, a conference championship game that they have to play. I think they still have to play, let me look it up. I think they still have to play Michigan. Let's see what Ohio State's schedule is looking like and I'm sorry, guys, I didn't pull this up, but I forgot that I was going to mention Ohio State in this particular video. But, all right, so Ohio State has left. They've already played Wisconsin. They've already, they got Rutgers coming up. So that's not a game that's going to really hurt them too tough. Let's see, Ohio State versus Michigan. Let's go ahead and pull them up, see when they play or if they played already. All right, so, damn, they got them playing at 12 o'clock. But anyway, Ohio State plays Michigan, a number 14 team in the country. Let's just say if Ohio State loses to Michigan and loses to Michigan pretty soundly, I think that gets them out of there. You know what I'm saying? And that starts to create room for, back to my point, a team like Auburn. Auburn, as I said before when I brought this whole thing up, I thought that Auburn only had a chance because of the shakiness of the top 10. Look who's in the top 10. You got teams like Florida and Oregon, who's kind of historically shaky for the last few years. Minnesota, I still think, is a little on the shaky side. Georgia is super shaky at number 4. But see, Georgia coming in at number 4, if you look at the epic jump of Minnesota when they beat Penn State, they jumped up 9 points. Now, I don't believe if Auburn beats Georgia, they will jump up 9 points. I mean, that's asinine to say. But they will jump up significantly enough to where when they play Alabama, because clearly if Auburn beats the number 4 team in the country at number 12, I'm thinking Auburn jumps to like 7 or 8 around that number. Then you talk about playing against an Alabama team who's not going to move from that number 5 spot because they're not going to lose until they play. I mean, they're not going to lose up until the Auburn game. So either way, let's just say Auburn does beat an Alabama at this point. We're not talking about being delusional about Auburn making the playoffs if they win out. What we want to do is push a narrative that says either they need to expand the playoffs, the participants in the playoffs, to make it a little more authentic, or they're going to have to get a little bit more off their asses as far as mentally about how they assess the teams. Maybe, the conference. The way it's set up now is allowing the committee, who, from what I've seen, a lot of the committee don't even look like they watch football, but it's allowing the committee to not give the totality of circumstance as it relates to the college football playoff. And it's keeping teams that, say, even surge, like in high school football, for example. I remember this one particular team, actually my high school team, I wasn't on this team, though. They went into the playoffs 6-4. Just barely made it in, had to go out of town for the first game of the playoffs. But they actually went on a surge to where they surged their way all the way to the state championship game. You have instances like those. Then you have instances like, say, Auburn playing Oregon. If Oregon would have totally tanked it this year, that game is not quite as valuable as it was at the time that they played. So I think there's a lot more that needs to be taken into account. Of course, strength of schedules, different trends, but having these situations set up to where, say, Alabama, even though they got shellacked in their home stadium, although they only lost by 5, but they got beat up pretty bad in that game. To have them at number 5, to put them in a position to where they could sort of ease back in, that shows some flaws in the college football playoff. Because I guarantee you, LSU beat somebody else like that. They're not, I'm just being real. They're not getting the same love that Alabama is getting. And it's not a matter, some of you Alabama fans that get on here and say, nobody's hating on Alabama. I think Alabama has an incredible football team. I think Alabama has an incredible dynasty. But you can't deny the love that Alabama gets over other teams in the same situation. Ohio State got a little love a few years ago, but like I said before, all this narrative about Auburn possibly making the college football playoff, the only thing that's pushing is for the college football. If they do win out and they wind up winning 4 games over top 25 teams, as it will turn out, if they beat Georgia, Oregon, and Alabama, that will be 3 top 10 teams that Auburn will have played and beat this year. And that has to be left to some level of consideration. And I think the only way that would be considered is not this year, but maybe push the narrative to stretch this thing out to 6 teams. Because I don't know if you're getting the full story from the top 4. All right, so either way, enough of the whole playoff talk. I'm done with the whole Auburn 2-loss playoff thing, but I just wanted to clarify, just in case someone wants to get cute and get in the comment section again talking about levels of delusion, because I don't talk anything out of delusion. But anyway, who's going to guard Anthony Schwartz from Georgia's football team? I think Georgia has a very, very good secondary. They're very confident. They're very skilled. But I think Auburn is definitely going to have to utilize Anthony Schwartz to stretch this defense out, because they love to pack it in. I was looking at the Missouri game. Man, all they did was pack that thing in. They closed those passing windows up, and it was nothing that Missouri could do. Put a little pressure on them, nothing they could do. They're going to have to spread this secondary out, because if the secondary can play in close quarters, they're one of the best teams in the country that I've seen secondary-wise. They cover very well. They tackle very well. As a matter of fact, they remind me sort of the combination of Jeremiah Denson, Jeremiah Denson, Daniel Thomas, doggone Jamie and Sherwood and Smoke Monday, Noah Igbenogany, Javaris Davis, and Christian Tutt. I don't know if Georgia's overall as skilled as these guys. I know they're not as deep. I don't think they can bring any guys off the bench like Roger McCreary or guys like that and still, don't miss a beat. But these guys are pretty talented. So how's Auburn going to loosen these guys up? Well, for number one, Auburn better figure out a way to run the football. If Auburn can't run the football, just like all the other teams that Georgia have played, this is absolutely not going to happen. The offense is going to struggle. Auburn's offense plays at a much higher level when they're able to run the football and run the football not only effectively, but consistently. You get those plays like I think DJ Williams has the capability of doing. You get those plays where Auburn is popping 6-7 yards per pop on the offense and able to get their play calling options going on second down. I think that puts Georgia on their heels, and that changes this top defense into a defense on their heels and a defense that's vulnerable to the deep ball. And Auburn definitely can find a way to catch Georgia napping with the deep ball because, for one, they haven't had to face anything like that all year. Auburn's offense is just unleashed potential, in my opinion. If Bo Nix can figure out a way to get over whatever demons, whatever hurdles that he's had so far, the true freshman thing, whatever, if he can just get over that and be the quarterback that I've seen him be in spots and play that kind of quarterback consistently, I mean, I think Auburn has a huge opportunity against a team like Georgia. Georgia's very good, don't get me wrong, but they're good at what's within their comfort level. You look at teams like Kentucky, Notre Dame, Florida. Those teams are not particularly good as far as being balanced on offense. Florida can't run the ball against anybody. I think LaMichael Pirine had like 30-something yards against Georgia. They can't run it. And if you have a situation where you have a team that can't run the football, their quarterback can't run the football, it's only so many different passes that you're going to complete against a relatively elite secondary, then it's not happening. So I think, just like I said before and like I said on other videos, offense shows up big time. Got to. We got a prediction show coming up tonight. Please tune in to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to talk about some things as we dig into a little bit more into Georgia and some of their tendencies in a prediction show tonight. But either way, I think Auburn definitely has to find a way to get Georgia out of that box. Because if you allow those guys in that coverage, that press coverage that they have, and allow them to just sit up in that box and, man you up, and then the defensive linemen just kind of crash in on you and the linebackers can just have their way, they will they will devour you. That's why they have one of the top defenses in the country, because of what teams, not saying that they don't have the skill set, because they definitely do. These guys are good. I'm talking about their defensive line is incredible. They're not Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown defensive line, but these guys are very, very good. So you got to get Anthony Schwartz, of course, involved. But my main thing is I like Eli Stove getting more involved, and I really like J.J. Wilson and Harold Joyner getting involved. I think Auburn has way too many potential weapons to be stagnant against Georgia. Just way too many. And like I said, with the skill set that Bo Nix does possess when he's playing at a level of confidence, could be very beneficial for the Auburn Tigers. All right, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.